Please welcome Don Yorty.
Okay. So, as Ed was saying, in September, maybe October, maybe November of 2025, I like putting things off, maybe December, January 2025. Inland Books is going to publish Fucking and Other Poems, which are poems I wrote in my 20s. Started to write when I was about 23. I wanted desperately to write poetry. I was writing it when I was 16. Made a kind of splash in my little small town, and some famous poets wrote to me, and I won the Pennsylvania Poetry Prize of $100, which seemed like $1,000 in 1965. And then about the age of 18, I sort of burned out, or I didn't know what people liked about the poetry, and I wrote really horrible stuff. But I kept trying to write, and around the age of 22, 23, I started to, I think, get it. Walt Whitman helped a lot, John Keats helped a lot, a whole lot of people helped a lot. And tonight I'm going to read from what's going to be Fucking and Other Poems. And the first poem I'm going to read, actually, Anne Waldman published in Out of This World in 1991 or something. Thanks, Anne. For John Keats. I think that I'm a candle whose flame stays round the wick, whether set in one place or carried, never wavering an inch from where I've always been. I hold out my hand like you did. When I'm happy and look at it, it's not the same I see sadly, desiring, or when I'm tired. It changes with my feelings, which usually I don't notice, like light and shadow pass over the day, revealing as the morning sun obscured by clouds or tears. When you vanished, did all vanish? With a change of heart, I change the world. And this is called On Seeing a Wasp in a Mountain Stream. Come, look with me. A small thing spins with delicate legs and delicate wings, soon not to be intact among the rapids and the rocks. Who will kneel to pick it out? If it stings, it must, unlike us. Uncle. This guy really existed. Uncle. I have an uncle who builds houses, and he tells me I don't write poems, that what I write is vile and useless, not good for anyone. There was a time I believed him, his words aloud crippling all mine, until I saw a words aboard, each nail succeeding nail. Something comes, even if quite small, and finds shelter there. Lou. He was so fucked up, he stumbled, then fell down, then someone helped him to the microphone. He didn't sing, he spoke, rhymed, indiscriminate. He didn't care what I thought. The same beat he'd repeat like waves of sea make us cease the struggle, giving up our bubbles, flow in the push, pull, toss, and tumble of its surf. Mindless, forgotten, as the just begotten, I'm the rhythm of him. The grass. Out of the skin of a rabbit, unbending shoots and eye sockets cover the valley and mountains, impenetrable darkness. As I ride upon them, crushing, cushioned by them, they rise again soon as I leave. The water snake. In the South Mountain, along a road that goes from an ocean to a great lake, not far from my parents' home, I walked up to a water snake, whose lower end a car had crushed, revealing in blood its smooth intestines, where a cluster of flies flew up and remained, filling themselves. It hissed, a delicate, transparent blood, flayed and reached out, trying to leave itself still now moving, tip of its nose along the road, mouth so silent, open. I thought it was dead till it twisted. Coiled, uncoiling, constant agitation without rest. I thought you are a poem, and crushed its head with a warm, flat stone. Now, this is from Fucking. And I used to perform Fucking. I started writing Fucking in about 1973. And I worked on it till about 1977. I performed it in Philly, I performed it in New York, performed part of it at the church, a place in Soho, Etage, even part of it on the stage of the Philadelphia Academy of Music. And it takes about an hour. If you're lucky, I guess Fucking takes about an hour. This part of the poem is about 45 minutes in. So it's been going on for quite a while, and there's a peace march that follows this, and a belt beating. But this is from Fucking. And I was like a dog tied to its little house, going no further than my chain allowed, tearing at the grass, making the earth bare with my chain scraping. Oh, love, forever come. Don't fly up to some branch I can't reach, but take the chain off of my neck to fling it in that sea where there is a shark, a slish slash on the wrist when the razor's nearer to me than my flesh. And oh, this gnawing, that's the smell of roses that comes after pruning all that's dead, before the peeping little leaves can unfurl quietly like flames to whisper in the wind, I am, with all the buds unfolding. Bloomed red, then truly dying is the rose, as on your face when looking, my flesh pretended stone. Now, as the detumescent petals float out of the bower, bald birds peck, hatching, gaping, eyeless gaping mouths in the soft drift of approach of dark of the twilight hour, within the thorny limbs, young hunger peeps. We need, of course we need. The trouble is, a mouth can't say this wordless thing that's understood and said so easily between eyes. Even in the eyes of children throwing a ball at play, or in the eyes of your grandmother dying full of cancer, more vast than the Roman Empire inside her. As you bend down to kiss her, she's too weak to hug you, yet you know she still knows you. Right there in her eyes she is, shining among all that withering. Grandma who groans, then her eyes close, and I'm kissing a stone I picked out of a stream, pressing my lips, tasting incredibly clear water, smack dab against the unenterable, hard, cold shock of it. What knew me doesn't, what I know isn't. Now all is useless, emptiness, pointless in grief. I weep when out of Grandma's cunt a hand comes. Without flesh, no rottenness, just bone. Like an ice cube that smoked so cold I would have stayed stuck to it, but when it took my hand to shake and gripped, Grandma's womb-worn dripped, squeezed out between our palms and intertwined fingers, a separation yet. Kept from each other midst a slippery salvation, I slipped out of drips, slick as drooled spit, on the lips of a tiger, shaking a gazelle by the neck, while out of its paws, unzipping its claws to rip. Hello, Death said. I'm glad we finally met. I'm the truth. Come closer, and I'll whisper it. Now I, not always by a secret, was scared shitless, but listen, hearing nothing. Death wasn't there. Only silence and my tears. Though I know death will one day appear to me again as quickly as an accident or something I forget, and I admit it, I am curious. I wait for death like factory workers wait for their trains that took them to work to take them home again. I've waited with them on a subway bench, among lunch buckets, newspapers, cigarettes, thinking how this world of ours its balms and locks. without stop goes passing by on a conveyor belt. And I thought, we are what we're touching, and I didn't think very much of them. The no-good factory fodder raked leaves for the fire. It wasn't goodbye, but their smoke made me cry. Soldiers for sons and very loose daughters who get knocked up, quick grow old, but keep the thing going. Up against the wall, the working class stood, leaning back or standing in flocks, staring down at the tracks that now begin to tremble, like you're just about ready to stick in the needle. Way down in the tunnel, I hear the trains coming for them, here, now, standing, waiting, doing nothing, which is what I think of them, nothing. Gazing, dispassionate, from face to face, on sleepy looks, emotionless, not one, I think's awake. Until I see around one eye a line of red, and knew that I had cried. Laughing so hard the tears had to come, or crying over a sentiment that meant something to that eye alone, or crying perhaps because it's a fact. This world holds more sadness than you can shake a stick at. We humans get to shed more tears than oceans can put back. Then I looked until that eye saw me, and I saw that I trembled because it was seen. What seen you know, what you know you can hold, what you hold you can destroy, as quickly as a thin teacup or any delicate joy, like the wing of a butterfly, like this eye that was a soul, a thing that felt, a thing that knows, one thing that's understood, and there it was. So we'll leave fucking there. I haven't read spoken those words in 30 years, so it was kind of nice. On painting, now I traveled to South America. This was written in Popayán, Colombia, right before Christmas, maybe 1973. On painting. Painting isn't filling in the spaces made by penciled lines premeditated, but it's existing as I touch on the canvas with my brush, the woman there below, hanging out bed sheets that blow, among geraniums' red explosions about her hips. In a moment, do we see? Life's happening so quickly, I think I remember it, but push, smear color till I show, right there, hung up on the wall. What is finished, yet will change, each time you look. While you talk, I take off my beads to closely examine the delicate seeds, blue and amazing, strung on a string I bought today from an Indian. You put down your brush, touch at them too. Your fingers touch me, my fingers touch you. And this one's called The Gift. This is a little bit later, Peruvian jungle, Ucayali River, on the way looking for ayahuasca. I was with Monica from Montevideo, and she said, let's go to the jungle and do yahe. I had never heard of it. I said, yahe, what's yahe anyway? So we're on the way to get yahe. This would be more like 1974, maybe
cool.
March or something. So anyway, The Gift. I cursed my luck. Sometimes one passed a jungle truck, ignoring my thumbs stuck out in the hot and wicked air. Only lizards from the dust, lifting their heads, glanced back if once, before they fled into the underbrush. When, from four stilts, a bamboo hut rose from the hack green land. Out of it a woman came with a bowl of boiled beans in her brown hands for me to eat beneath a tree, where white hens were scratching all around me, kept from the cruel sun, hid away in the kind shade. While up from the river her children run, watching till I'm done to thrust at me a gourd full of water I drink, wash with what's left over the bowl I take when I go to pay the woman, who shakes her head and says, de nada, getting from me empty what she'd given full. I wanted at least to thank her and was about to. My lips puckered, tongue still on my mouth's floor. Not used too much, if I can detect at all, in the beginning sound of the pronunciation of the word. Muchas gracias, I said. What I saw was a breathing, keeping, watching in us all. And Then I came back from South America, and I was in the South Mountain where my family lives, summer of '74. So I worked on these poems. I wrote them 73, 74, and then I really worked on them until about 1977, and I was performing them, and then I moved to New York, and I actually quit writing poetry for 20 years. So after this, I worked on a novel, I did translations, I did all other things, but the poetry thing kind of went away, and then after the invasion of Iraq, I started to write sonnets, but no sonnets tonight. Oh! Peg screams to see a mole peek from the sharp and gentle jaws of the cat she's lifted for a kiss beneath the apple tree. Snow white, pink-edged, falling blossoms spin. Some end in the black fur, or clinging to her curls. And this is a little bit of Greek myth, I guess, here. Tiresias remembers. I was on my way to Corinth in the process of pushing a bough of pomegranate from my path when there she was, Athena, covering her breasts and running out of the pool. As for what's come, this gift in my eyes stead that lets me see what isn't yet, it's like Arachne's thread about my neck when she falls and is still living, not yet that 8-legged thing weaving on the daisies in the evening. So delicate and golden this thread is, it might have been touched by Midas that thinly, yet holds me completely as the oar slave to the bench. To the awfulest thing I find myself wed. In it I see no end, only smoke and a sailing. A smoke not perfumed as Delphi's risen, but a smoke from a pyre full of morning that drifts along a shoreline where dead fish and fish lie gasping, lifted and forsaken by the slow storm, left upon the sand and foam unsinking. And the wormwood, wood, and body severed among the dune grass, and the violets are rank, all rotting, and sailing is the sailing where the furies fly, impaling. Indeed, there was no choosing. And though they think me mad, with dung in my dread, I covered my head before them prophesying. My brothers, I said, we are already dead, and the wall of Thebes stand shaking. And one more. It's called O Pretty Self. A snake curled in the sun feels my shadow come and goes, ripples over stones. The stream falls down and oozes out of moss and mud where a deer stepped. No, I won't pick this violet. Let it clutch the cracking rock, blue out of yellow from a black dot. When I leave these woods to work and stammer or say 2 words at once, I'll think of it and stop. Thank you.